So I wanted to start out just by telling you a little bit about myself. A lot of people who are signed up tonight are new to me and to my practice and to what I do. So this is just a little bit about me. I am a yoga teacher in RYT 500, which means I've had at least 500 hours of training in yoga, which includes meditation. And I'm also a certified mindful art teacher. And I offer retreats, classes on person and in person and online. And I often combine yoga, creative practices, and I'll explain what those are, nature, being outdoors, and travel. And I like to use the combination to help inspire my community to live with more intention and joy. I'm also a mom of three boys and an athlete, and I love nature and anything outdoors. So I know what it's like to be busy. I know what it's like to feel stressed. I use these practices for myself. I don't teach anything that I don't use personally, and I find them so beneficial that I love sharing them with others. So that's a little bit about me. These are just some images of my family and myself and one of the mindful art and yoga retreats that I lead here locally. And a QR code if you are interested in finding out more. You're welcome to screenshot that or use your phone to snap a photo. You can find me at KristaHoganYoga.com. But one of the questions I get most often when I talk about the combination of what I teach is, what is mindful creativity and is it for me? So a lot of people think that there are certain people who are creative, and I don't see it that way. I've been a writer and freelance writer. That's what I went to school for. But visual art was not something that I've ever been really comfortable with, but I've wanted to. And for me, mindful creativity has been a great way to enter into the visual arts in a way that's not intimidating, that is a really useful part of my meditation practice and provides stress relief. So just a few things about mindful creativity. If you're not familiar with what that is, mindful creativity is for you. There's no experience necessary. I see creativity as a universal human impulse. We're all creative, and mindful creativity focuses on practices that are accessible to beginners and will also encourage more experienced students to rediscover joy. So whether you're just getting started and you have no art supplies and all you have is a pen and a piece of paper, that's all we're going to use tonight, or you have all the art supplies in the world and you love to be creative, but you have trouble setting aside the time and getting started. That's a pretty common experience that we have as creative people, that you have every intention of being more creative, of doing more projects and things, but you just never quite seem to clear your plate to get to them. Wherever you're coming from, the practice I'm going to show you tonight is very accessible. It's something that you can expand on, and you can do it in just a few minutes a day. Mindful creativity is also about the journey and not the end results. So in mindful creativity, we learn to collaborate with chance. We learn to enjoy the process and trust ourselves. We release end results and messages about good enough or not good enough. So in mindful creativity, a lot of times we'll start to notice the frustrations that we experience on the inside that hold us back from being creative, and some of those negative messages and habitual thoughts that we can have. And so that's just a part of the process of noticing that. And we'll get to that again in a little bit more. Mindful creativity is also unique to you. So I teach a variety of practices, including watercolor painting, drawing, collage, and especially reflective writing. And the goal is not for your project to look like mine in the end. The goal is to give you a guideline and for you to make it your own and to really enjoy the process of what you're doing and really engage in the present moment of the creative act. So if we show our projects at the end, and yours doesn't look like mine, that's totally fine. It's actually great. That's a part of creative expression. Is the goal of something like this is not to teach you how to make something that looks just like what I would do, but to give you the tools to really make it your own. And mindful creativity is a form of mindful meditation. That's the way we're going to use it tonight. I used to teach mindfulness meditation and I practice mindfulness meditation. And there's a lot of similarities between that and creative practice. So, like mindfulness meditation, when we create mindfully, we stay connected to our breath. We notice any tension in our bodies, we observe our emotions and habitual thoughts, and we do it all without judgment. And we may find our mind wandering throughout the process, and that's great. Sometimes, as the mind wanders, you come up with new, exciting ideas, and just kind of tell yourself it's okay, we've got time for that, and we'll have time for reflection and journaling at the end. So you'll have time to capture and record your experience. So I think that's one of the misconceptions about mindfulness meditation, that the goal is to make your mind completely blank. And that's really not the point. Mindfulness meditation is more about becoming a witness and an observer to your experience. So you're noticing how your breath is, if you're holding your breath, if you're gripping your pen very tight, you're paying attention to the present moment, exactly what's happening. So you're listening to the sound of the pen on the page, you're feeling the friction of the pen as it moves across the page. Sometimes things so subtle that in our day-to-day we wouldn't notice them at all. So that's a little bit about what mindful creativity is. Just to give you an idea of where we're going tonight, we are going to do a short seated practice. So I wanted to show you a way to combine yoga or stretching with a mindful art practice in your journal. So you'll need a piece of paper and a pen, and reflective journaling. So I love to combine these because the yoga gets into the body and moving the body and letting go of tension in the body and helping us to really connect with our physical body. Sometimes as creatives, or when we're in a creative activity, we're all up here in our heads and we lose that connection. I used to say, before I started using yoga or doing yoga and doing mindful meditation, I felt like a brain in a jar. I was so disconnected from my body because everything was here, all of my ideas, even though I was writing. And it takes your body to do that and to sit in the seat. I just felt so disconnected. And so meditation and yoga has been a really great part of my journey and my process to helping me be fully integrated. So we'll start with some yoga, some light stretching. We're going to do a seated practice. You don't need a yoga mat. You just need a chair that's stable. I'm in a rolling chair. I'm going to keep both my feet on the ground. If you have a chair that doesn't have wheels, that might work even better. Maybe something that doesn't have arms. I have arms on my office chair. I'm just going to flip them up. So we'll start there, and then I'm going to show you a brief practice that I like to teach. It's called Drawing the Breath. It's one version of a Draw the Breath practice, and it's very simple, and you can expand on it, and I'll show you a few ways that you could expand on this on your own so that it can be something that takes a minute, 5 or 6 breaths. It could be a project that you work on over multiple days and come back to again and again. And then we'll end our time together with a moment of reflective journaling. I'll give you some prompts so that you can process the experience and reflect back on what came up for you during our time together. And you can take these 3 components and you can take this practice. I'll send you the recording. And if you have the recording for 7 days, if you want to continue to use it as a guide, you can do it each day and hopefully start to form a new habit for yourself. I think it sounds overwhelming at first when I say, oh, I combine yoga and mindful art journaling and reflective journaling, and I do it every day. It sounds like, wow, where do you find the time? But really, yoga can be as simple as breath work. It can be as simple as sitting and stretching and just really connecting with your body. You can do that in 5 minutes. You can do that in an hour. You can do that in 2 hours. Mindful art is the same thing. You can stop your project at any point. There's very simple projects you can do, and there's projects that you can add to each day so that you can work on it as long or amount of time or as little amount of time as possible. And reflective journaling is really it's a free writing practice where you can set a limit for yourself. So maybe you set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and you write continuously for that time, or you fill a single page Or when I'm really feeling stumped, sometimes I just take a 3 by 5 inch note card and I fill the front and back of that note card, and that's my writing for the day. So there's ways to make it really easy to do it on the go. You can do these practices while you're seated at your desk at lunchtime. You can go sit in your car for 20 minutes and do it. You can do it in the morning when you get up. You can practice before you go to bed. So I try to make it as flexible as possible for you. So tonight, all you need is a chair to sit on. You need a piece of paper and something to draw with. So that could be a pen, it could be markers. If you have art supplies and you want to get out maybe some watercolors or something, instead of using a pen for the practice we're going to do, you can paint, or if you have multiple color pens, pencils, crayons, but just a plain pencil works too. And if you'll just keep your mic muted, and your cameras are totally optional. If you have any questions at any time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so that I can pull up the chat. There it is. Where'd it go? Come back. So feel free at any point if you have, and thank you, beautiful family. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to type it in the chat and let me know, or unmute yourself and ask. So I'm gonna start out by just taking off my glasses, and I'm going to lower my seat a little here so that my feet can rest on the floor. And I'm gonna start to scooch back so that my camera can find me. There it goes. Okay, so that you can see there. It has an autofocus feature on. All right, so arriving, I like being in this moving chair to teach because you can see me from multiple angles. I'm gonna sit with my hips resting at the back of my seat and my feet on the floor. My hands are resting on my lap. This is mostly gonna be upper body. So we're not gonna worry about our hips and our low body. That might be something we could get into more deeply in another class, but we're gonna put the arms up on this chair. I'm gonna bring my back forward a little bit just because my chair leans back and then my shoulders aren't upright. This way my shoulders are upright over my hips. And then let our eyes close, or the gaze can soften down toward the floor as well. Or maybe towards your keyboard if you want to keep eyes on the computer for a moment. You won't need them right now. We begin by checking in with ourselves. And what I mean by that is scanning the body from maybe your feet up to your head, or maybe from your head down to your feet. Letting the breath move in and out of the body as you do. And just noticing where you find tension, where you find ease and space. The feel of the air on your skin. The feel of the seat underneath your legs or the floor underneath your feet. And maybe your legs underneath your hands. And allow the breath to move in and out of the nose. We'll just keep breathing. Let me check in real quick and see if I missed anyone. And then blink the eyes open. Now we're going to start with a little face yoga. So we'll bring our fingertips here. I'm going to scooch closer here so you can see me again. And we'll just gently, and you can do this with the eyes opened or closed, start to, with the fingertips, lightly massage around the eyes. And then the cheekbones and the bridge of the nose. And you can rub the skin gently here, coming up around the temples, gently massaging the temples on either side of the eyes and then down to the jaw. And then maybe I've got my AirPods in, but maybe the earlobes. I'm running the fingers down the sides of the neck here behind the ears, along where the lymph nodes are, muscles along the sides of the neck. A little self massage here, moving into the shoulders. Maybe gently pinching and squeezing these muscles here out towards the shoulder joints. Inhale, lift the shoulders up towards the ears. Exhale, let them drop and get heavy. Inhale and lift. And exhale. One more time. And then reach the right hand to the opposite side of the head and draw the ear down toward that shoulder. You can look up at the sky. Take a deep breath. Release that side of the head and switch sides. Exhale, soften the shoulder down away from the ear. Soften the opposite ear down toward the shoulder. Another deep breath. And let it go. Release the head. I'm going to scooch forward to my seat here, just a little bit onto the edge of my seat. And then we'll inhale, sweep both hands high. Bring the hands together to touch overhead. Slide them down to your heart. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. This time, reach out, take hold of one wrist. I've got a hold here of my left wrist. I'm gonna lift and extend. And then lean over in the opposite direction. So you're looking for nice length here in this shoulder and then down the side of the body. And when you inhale, breathe into that rib cage. Notice how the shoulders kind of soften down away from my hairline there as I exhale. Inhale, go ahead and switch sides. We'll take hold of the opposite wrist. Inhale, lift and lengthen in that arm, and then exhale, lean over in the opposite direction. And then bring both the hands back to the heart. This time we're gonna link the fingers together. Inhale into the heart. Exhale, round in the upper back, press the knuckles away, lower the chin down toward the chest. Exhale, soften the heart. Inhale, roll up, bring the hands to the heart center, bring the shoulder blades together on the back of the body. Exhale, press the hands away. Blow the breath out, empty the lungs. slide the shoulder blades apart on the back of the body. Inhale, bring the hands back to the heart. This time we'll flip the palms and just play with stretching the wrists a little bit. Inhale, the hands back to heart center and just let the hands rest here in your heart for a moment. And breathe. Unlink the fingers. We'll make fists with the hands and just roll the wrists out here. So if you do any kind of writing or drawing or typing, often we're sitting over at a computer, the shoulders are hunching up towards the ears, the upper back is rounding forward, we get tight in our wrists. So just giving some love to our shoulders, our wrists, our upper body, our neck, letting go of some of that held tension. And then we'll inhale, reach the hands high again. This time, cactus your arms. So bend the elbows, palms forward. Draw the shoulder blades down on the back of the body. A little bit of an arch here in the upper back. Drawing those shoulders down away. Maybe look up at the sky. Inhale, reach tall. Let that upper back round forward, chin dips down. Exhale, bend the elbows again and look up. Inhale. And exhale. And then bring the hands to center. So little eagle arms here to help bring some space into the back and the shoulders. I'm going to bring one arm on the bottom, one arm on top, and then wrap the arms around, which might be kind of hard to see with this black shirt. I roll my sleeves up. So in this one, my right elbow's on the bottom, my left elbow's on top. I'm going to try to wrap the hands around here and then allow that to really pull the shoulders open. Inhale, lift the elbows. Exhale, drop the chin and start to move the elbows away. And soften the shoulders down away from the ears. One more breath. And then we'll unwind the arms, bring them out nice and wide, maybe shrug the shoulders here a little bit. And we'll do the same, just this time with the left elbow on the bottom, right elbow on top. Try and wrap those arms around. You can catch hold of the fingers or take hold of the wrist. Inhale, lift the elbows. Exhale, soften the chin down. Soften the shoulders down. And see if you can't press the elbows forward a little. Inhale into the back body. Exhale, soften the heart. Unwind the hands. We'll bring the arms out wide again. And shrug those shoulders a little bit. And then just a little release here for the upper back all the way down to the low back. We'll bring one hand to the opposite knee. Inhale, sit tall. And then exhale, use that hand on the knee and maybe the other hand on the seat of your chair to help rotate from the base of the spine all the way up through the center of the back. And then bring the head around last. So just looking over that back shoulder, being careful not to overextend in your neck, really trying to twist out in the back. Inhale back to center. We're going to bring one hand to the opposite knee, the other hand can hold onto the chair, and then use those 2 points to help rotate the shoulders. And take a look over the opposite shoulder. And inhale, find your way back to center. And come back to a seat here, facing forward with the hands resting on the lap. You can let the eyes close again or soften the gaze down. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Another breath like that. And then allow the lips to touch. And breathe in and out of the nose at your own natural rhythm. Maybe allow a smile to come to your lips. Offering yourself the gift of your own awareness and attention and compassion. And we'll scan the body again from the head to the feet or from the feet to the head. Noticing any changes from the first scan. Anywhere that tension still remains. Maybe make a note to yourself to come back to it. Notice the breath here moving at the tip of the nose. It's a little cooler on the inhale and a little warmer on the exhale. Maybe you notice the sounds in your house or your room or the outdoors, your neighborhood. Allowing it to be part of your practice and part of your awareness and experience. And breathing deeply in through the nose. Let the lips part and exhale through the mouth with a sigh. Another breath like that. And another exhale. And then either lifting the gaze or gently opening the eyes. I'm going to bring my glasses back on. How was that? I hope that was helpful. You found that enjoyable. Feel a little bit more relaxed already. I'm going to switch over now to my other camera here. So if you will get your pen and your paper, we'll move from here into the drawing practice that I have planned for us tonight. And this practice is called drawing the breath. And so we're going to, one of the reasons I like teaching this practice is that it's so simple. It takes very few art supplies, and so it's very accessible. I'm using, you can have either a Micron pen. These are great because they don't smear. Or I have a refillable fountain pen that I've started using because it's less waste and I enjoy the feel of the nib is very sharp. And so it's a nice scratching sound on the page, which is very tactile. But you can also just use a pencil or a regular drawing pen. And I like teaching this practice because it's so tactile and it's connected directly to your breath. So it's a great place to start, and it's an excellent example of what mindful creativity can be. And we'll start on one side of the page. I'm right-handed. I'm going to start on the left and work my way right. And I'll demonstrate, and once you see where I'm going, you can jump in and join me at any time. So I'm going to begin at the bottom of the page in the bottom left-hand corner, which is probably reversed for you. You're seeing it on the right. So as I inhale, I'm going to trace the pen up the page on the inhale. When I reach the top of my inhale, I'm going to pause and let my pen start to trace over to the right. And then as I exhale, I'm going to trace a line down to show my exhale. At the bottom of the exhale, there's a natural pause. I'll move my pen over to the right, and then I'll inhale back up the page. And we're going to continue this process and follow your own breath. These loops can be as big or as small, as tall, as wide, as thin, as is natural for your breathing. So I'll start again here at the top as I exhale. And you'll see that there's almost like a heartbeat on a heartbeat monitor happening here. But every breath is different. Every breath has its own shape. And as I'm drawing here, I'm describing to you what's happening. But when I'm practicing on my own, there's a few things that I'm doing because it's a mindful practice. I'm moving my pen with intention. I'm staying present to this exact spot where my pen is moving right now. My pen is moving here. It's not moving back here. It's not up here. I'm right here. This is that present moment experience that we talk about in mindfulness meditation. I'm noticing that there is a pause that happens naturally at the top and the bottom of every breath. Even though my breath is happening involuntarily, my body is breathing on its own without me having to think, breathe in, breathe out. My body just knows to do that. And it knows to pause. So we're really noticing and we're listening what our bodies already doing. I'm also paying attention to my grip on my pen. I'm going to pause there and let you catch up. I'm noticing if I'm gripping my pen too tight. You see my fingers start to get white there when I'm gripping my pen too tight. If I am pressing too hard, I don't know, a certain personality, maybe I won't say everyone, but I tend to effort my way through everything, including mindfulness. So starting to notice, like, I can bring some ease into this practice. And when I reach the end, I'm going to come back on my inhale and start to go back over and cross over some of these lines. And I'm really exaggerating my breath here so that you can hear me breathing. But you can just follow your own natural rhythm of your breath. You don't have to breathe any more deeply or any more shallowly, faster or slower. Just allow your breath to move at its own natural rhythm. And I find this practice really helpful for slowing down, really helpful for remembering to breathe, for deepening my breath naturally. I don't even have to force it. My breath, and I start to pay attention, just gets deeper than that shallowed, stressful breathing when we're stressed and we're just doing these little pants and we don't even realize we're doing it. I feel my chest kind of expanding. My back gets looser and lighter. My shoulders soften away from my ears. And I'm more present. So this is 2 stages. One is one direction. That could be a single practice. The next time you can come back through, that could be a second practice, or you could do both directions in one sitting. That could be a single practice. So just to show you kind of how you can break this up into multiple practices that could last multiple days. And you'll see now that there are, before we had kind of open loops. I hope that's clear. Camera's a little, where am I? There we go. Camera's a little blurry. And now we have some enclosed spaces. So when the lines crossed over, we have these little pockets of space that are contained. And something that I like to do with these pockets, you have a couple choices and you can do one or the other or both. I like to treat them like little mini doodling pads. And so I will pick a space. I'm going to take this first one and I will fill it with a pattern. And you could do a single pattern in every single space. You can change up the patterns. Do what feels natural to you. So sometimes a repetitive pattern, like just using hatch marks, just drawing a line to connect side to side, allows your mind to wander and open and relax, and your body to relax. You're not thinking about, oh gosh, what am I going to do next? Is this going to look terrible? You're simply moving the pen from top to bottom, right to left or left to right. Filling in the space. If you find, this is not really relaxing, this feels more tedious like a chore, you may need something more creative or more, not creative is not the word I'm looking for because that sounds like a judgment. You may need something more diverse, something, you may need to be stimulated and challenged a little bit more to find it relaxing. So you could change up the pattern into kind of this alternating hatch pattern that looks kind of like a basket weave maybe. And I kind of like, I say that you are collaborating with chance when you start a practice like this. These little triangles are appearing. And so I hadn't planned that. I'm going to go back through and I'm just going to fill in these little triangles here. I find those enjoyable. And now I'm looking for my next little drawing pad here. I see a space here. And I'm going to change it up a little bit. Let's go with maybe some overlapping half circles that could be like scales or feathers. And that might change, just filling in the space here. You have a curved space to fill, then it tends to kind of challenge you to be flexible. Finding nuts, maybe in need of a little bit of interest for me. And it really just depends. Sometimes when I teach repetitive patterns, people find it soothing. And in the same class, there can be someone who finds it kind of aggravating. If you find it aggravating, then change, do something different, because that's taking you out of the moment and the enjoyment of the process. So find what works for you. Which brings in, of course, the judgment. So I think it's inevitable. I think everyone experiences it. I've actually never met anyone who doesn't experience some form of self-judgment and criticism when they're creating something. And there's probably lots of reasons for that. And I don't want to go into all of that tonight. That could be a very long discussion of why we are so critical of self-expression in our own. I'm just going to bring this a little closer here so you can see better what I'm doing, about why that might be. But it's enough to note for this practice that if it's happening for you. So there is a little example of what you could do with this very simple project that just starts with a paper and pen, and you could transform the entire page. You could use paint as well. If you have watercolors, you could paint up and down. I've done that before. The other option that I had mentioned earlier, there were two options, is to use these spaces for journaling. So we'll do that in just a moment. I want to show you first a few examples. This is just using, this is doing this practice with a simple hatch mark patterns that alternate, some darker, some lighter. And then this one's a little bit more in depth. I used a series of different textures. If you're looking for inspiration, what I like to do is have 5 or 6 patterns that I like that are easy for me to do that I don't have to think too hard about. And I tend to go to those over and over again. And I find a lot of great inspiration for that on Pinterest. If you Pinterest doodling patterns, textures, you'll find some of them are pretty complicated. I try to keep it pretty simple. But that's a great place to get inspiration. So we have just about 10 minutes left, and we're going to move right into the reflective journaling practice. So the prompt that I'm going to give you, and you can use the spaces that are left that you haven't filled in yet if you'd like, or you can flip to a new page and you use a new page, is to start to notice and pay attention and reflect back on what came up for you during your practice today. So thinking back to physically how you felt in your body when you were moving, maybe even the word that you used when we first checked in. So I'm going to write here the word stressed. This probably is really, really tiny, but that kind of fits because it has kind of a tight feeling, and that works. And then it kind of gets bigger and it feels, yeah, like that expresses the word stressed. So you can start with, my camera's not mirroring it, so it's backwards for you. But you can start to write in words or sentences or phrases here in each of these that reflects how you felt, maybe the word that you checked in with, how you felt in your body during the yoga practice, and then anything that came up for you at all, mentally, emotionally, thoughts, ideas, maybe things that you're noticing for yourself, and recording those. And I'm going to give you just about 5 minutes to write continuously. And go ahead and either fill in all the lines or flip to a new page to do that. And then I'll check back in with you in just a moment. I think I said 5 minutes, but we'll probably make it more like 3 minutes so we have time to check in at the end. Okay. So we have just a few minutes left. Wanted to go ahead and check back in here at the end. I hope that was helpful. So there's several different ways you can use that practice as I was showing you, and it can be something that's very quick and small, especially if you do it on a smaller piece of paper. Sometimes when I'm starting out on a full sheet in a journal, what's helpful is to break that sheet into 3 different blocks. And if you just have a few minutes, you only have to tackle a small block that's maybe a third of the page versus the whole page. I'll see if I have a quick example here in this notebook. Let me see. I don't think I've done that in a while. But that's a way to make it really accessible and to try and do a small journaling practice each day. So this is one that I did one day and broke it into 3 different practices. Let's see. Another possibility is to do a swirl where you're inhaling, you put your pen down and you inhale a spiral in one direction, and you pick up your pen, you move it somewhere else, and you exhale and move a spiral in the opposite direction. That's another one I share. And there's a video on my Instagram for that if you're interested. What happened to my, hold on one second here. I was going to show you. Disconnect. There we go. There it is. Okay, let's try screen share again. There it is. Okay, back where we started. If you go to my website here, you can use this QR code. It'll show you links to my Instagram. I have a couple of videos up on Instagram of how to do, I think I do this practice, and then also how to do it with watercolors, how to use it as a journal. And there's another one on there. I also have a course on my website. It's about $35. It's called A Month of Mindfulness, and you get yoga videos, you get a month's worth of prompts. So each week there's different prompts around a theme, so that you're not just coming to a blank page each day, but you have journal reflective prompts, and you have art prompts, and then small yoga practices that you can use. So that's something that if you really like this practice and you'd like to make it a habit, that's a great way to have some support in that process and not just coming at it cold with a blank page. If you're interested, I'm also starting to teach a yin yoga class next week, which is a deep stretch class that runs for 4 weeks. I'm teaching at a local yoga festival if you're in the North Carolina Apex area, and I have a retreat coming up in a couple weeks that combines yoga and mindful art as well. So there's a couple of other ways that you can get support on your mindful journey. Feel free to reach out to me at any point and let me know if there's anything that you'd like some feedback on or need some support. But I hope that that was enjoyable as well as helpful, and that you feel a little less stressed tonight. If you have anything else that you'd like to let me know, great, good. This was great, good. I'm so glad. I'll send the recording out shortly as soon as I pull it together, and you'll have that for a week, and you can use this practice as well each day to start your mindful creativity practice and journey. So thanks so much for joining me tonight. Stay safe, stay warm, enjoy the snow. Hope you're a little less stressed. Bye.